stop for the night. There she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell. I was thinking to myself, it could be heaven, if this could be it. Lit up the candle, show me the way. Voices down the corridor, thought I heard them say, oh, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. Plenty of room at the Hotel California. Any time of year, you can find me here. Hermana's a Tiffany twisted. She got the Mercedes bells. She got a lot of pretty boys that she calls friends. And then they danced in the choreo, sweet summer sweat. Some dance to remember, some dance to forget. I called up the captain, I said, please bring me my wife. We haven't had that spirit here since 1969. And still the voices come calling from far away. Wake you up in the middle of the night, or just to hear them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely place. Plenty of room at the Hotel California. Any time of year, you can find me here. Welcome to the Hotel California. I'm sitting in a railway station, got a ticket for my destination. Oh yeah, on a tour of one night stands, suitcase and guitar in hand. Every stop is neatly planned, a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home where my thoughts escaping, home where my music's playing, home. Love lies waiting silently for me, silently for me. Every day is an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines. Hey, each town looks the same to me. Movies in the factories, every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Home where my thoughts escaping, home where my music's playing, home. Love waiting silently for me. Home where my thoughts are skating home. Music's playing home. Love lies waiting silently for me. All right, SketchUp fans everywhere, all around the world. This is awesome watching this, watching the board go through here. We got people from India, people all over the U.S., all around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Ben Hammond. It is my distinct pleasure to actually have a gig, which is fun in this crazy era. Playing some live music for people that are listening and opening things up here for the SketchUp conference. So yeah, we're gonna bring on your gracious and beautiful hosts and get things started over here.
Bravo, bravo.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ben. Jammed.
That was great. I thought it was interesting how you happen to play two songs with home or, well, hotel, but buildings in them, and we happen to be talking to an architect today. Weird coincidence.
Weird.
What are the chances?
It's almost like that was something somebody asked for or something.
That is awesome. Ben, great music, man. Thanks for playing. I'd never heard a sort of reggae rendition of Hotel California. That was jamming.
Sprung that one on you.
That was awesome.
I'm
Love
digging
it. Cool.
All right.
Well, hey, everybody. Ben's going to be back here next week. So if you enjoyed it, show up early next week, also Wednesday, and you'll get to hear some new songs. Right? You do have other songs, right?
No, just those two over and over on loop.
Okay, well, it was good, so I could listen to it again.
What I'll do is I'll look and see who the speaker is next week, and I'll try to pick some songs that fit. How about that?
Nice work. I like that. You're a smart guy. All right, thanks a lot, Ben. We'll see you next week.
All right. Ciao. All right. Welcome, everyone. Whew. That was something else. Welcome, everyone, to the SketchUp Fireside Chat series. We're your hosts, Aaron Dietzen and Steve Guzman, sometimes referred to as the Goose.
Hey, guys. Welcome. So real quick, why are we doing? What are we doing? What is this thing? We did have, right now, we should be actually all in Vancouver hanging out together, but there was this worldwide phenomenon that was canceling user conferences all over the world called COVID. Yeah. And Basecamp was not immune. It was affected, and we couldn't do it. So we decided instead what we could do is we can do this virtually. That way people who couldn't have come can come, and those people who are going to go can still enjoy it. So we're doing our best to embody everything that is Basecamp in this webinar series. So
awesome. I like it. Do we have anything that we can maybe reuse from Basecamp?
Yes, actually, I happen to have, we just started these when everything fell apart. So I have my Basecamp main stage notes. So these are the little things we're going to talk about up on the main stage Basecamp. So,
okay, cool.
So here's what we'll do. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be awesome. So we're going to pretend we're in Vancouver. We're everybody's sitting there, and we're going to dim the lights. And I can't really dim the lights. So here's what I want everybody to do. Everybody, close your eyes.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. You close your eyes. Yours are open. Close them. Close them.
Okay, I'll close my eyes.
Okay, there we go. All right. And fade up, open. Welcome to Basecamp.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Woo. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. We're so glad to have you guys here. So we're going to kick this off with something that went over super well in 2018. We're going to use T-shirt cannon. Not going to work. So that's
not going to work.
It's a bummer too, because I have 4 cases of these things back here. So
wait, throw one to me.
All right. 1 T-shirt cannon shot.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
All right. Let's try. We can't do giveaways though. We can ship stuff. So we did have something we were going to give away as a big thing. So if everybody looks under their seat, that's not going to work either.
No. Throw that card out.
All right, here's the last one. This one, and we do this at every single base camp. What we're going to do is ask people to stand up based on the number of base camps they've been to. So we say we start with number 1. Everybody stands up for number 1. So if you've been to one base camp, at least
Does this
one.
count as one?
This is
Okay.
one.
Yep.
Stand up if you've been to one base camp.
All right. Well,
So-
I mean, I'm here.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I was talking to you. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a lot of space.
Oh, so
But yeah, count me.
yeah, Sandy.
But you know what though? That's not going to work for the other 1,000-something people. So,
None of it's working.
but you know what we could do? We could utilize technology. So, right?
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So there's going to be something called a poll showing up down here at the bottom of your screen, and when that poll pops up, I want everyone out there to take a look at it.
There it is.
There it is. Take a look at it, and then I'm going to click on it right now. As a matter of fact, click on the number of base camps that you've been to.
And this is something everybody should do. We're doing interactive stuff here. This isn't just a webinar where we're going to talk. You got to get involved. Click on it and click on how many base camps you've been to.
That's
See, now
right.
nobody should click on none because this counts as one. This is a trick. It's a trick question.
Can you undo?
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to.
You can change your vote, I think.
Let me try it. I'm going to try it. No, you can't. Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. Wait. No, you have to unclick and then click it back. Vote.
Right.
Okay.
Numbers are going down. It's like watching the stock market or something. If I understood how that worked.
All right. Some other housekeeping too. You'll notice down at the bottom it says "Ask a question." So this would be where you would ask a question for our guest today. And if you see a question there already and you just want to give it a little boost, just hit the little up arrow. You'll vote that question up, and then toward the end of the show, we will ask those questions.
And we're going to try to do something cool. Like I mentioned, the interactivity. So if you have a good question there, it gets upvoted a bunch. It's at the top of the list. We may ask you to turn your web camera and mic on and come up on stage and ask our guest your question. So
That'll be cool. Truly interactive.
that'd be cool. That's right.
Now heads up. Yeah. So you have about 40 minutes to get your hair combed and change out of your PJs and put away the dishes. So just get ready for that. About 40 minutes or so.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. So the other thing, you guys have already probably figured it out, but we do have this chat going on the left side. That's where you can just hop in and say hi, throw out well wishes, give us an update on where you're from, what you're doing, that sort of thing. Anything goes in the chat. Just be nice, be friendly, be fun.
That's right. And bear with us if you see any technical difficulties. Of course, this is the modern age where you could stand around a campfire and still have bandwidth issues. So just everyone stay warm.
Back to the campfire.
Good deal. So normally we would be leaving, in our normal dimension, we'd be leaving base camp Vancouver right now, which is a little sad, but you know what? We're going to try this again.
Yeah. So let's take a look at that poll. Let's actually first.
Yeah.
Steve, you've been to, this is your second base camp.
This is my second one. Yep. Because I was in Palm Springs in 2018. That was awesome.
That was hot.
Yeah. Yeah, literally and figuratively.
Hot
smoking. Yeah. But I loved getting to sit in on all the awesome classes and talk to the experts in the field like we're going to be doing today.
Mm-hmm.
So how about you? What was some of your favorite aspects?
Mine's the same every year. It's you guys. It's getting together and talking to people and. Well, okay, I talk at people a lot, but getting people to talk back and interact, that's awesome. So actually getting to hang out, it's the community is my favorite part. So I'm excited that we can create a little sliver of that with these fireside chats. This is awesome.
I love it. All right. I like your idea also. Let's go to the poll. Let's see who we have. Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. We have a couple who've been to 2. We have 6 people who've been to every single one.
Wow.
All 8 of them? Has it been 8?
I think there's been 8 US ones. I think that's correct.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? We actually have a special guest who's going to come up with us real quick. Not our big guest, not Nick, but somebody else who has been to every single US base camp and actually some international ones too. So We're going to bring him up on stage and he's going to tell us a little bit what it was like back in the old days, the good old days. Back before we had to do this virtually. So we want to welcome John Backus to the stage. Everybody.
John Backus. Welcome. That is awesome.
Hey, guys.
Everyone.
Hey, John. So
what's going on here?
I don't know. We're just goofing around.
Oh, yeah.
But we hear that you have been to every single base camp, even back in the Stone Ages.
Yeah. Back, baby Atlas Software, little software company in Boulder. I was at that one, the very, very first one. Along with apparently 5 other friends here on this call.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how many people have been to all of it. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
If you're one of the people who said I've been to it all, go ahead and raise your hand or shout out now, so we can see you in the chat. Well, I just got to ask real quick, what was the first one like? I mean, we know what 2018 was like. We had 1,000 plus people there, but what was it like to go to that first one, that Atlas one in Boulder?
It was great. We got to go to a fancy hotel. I mean, most of the time we were sitting on folding metal chairs and card tables, and we got to go to like the classiest hotel in Boulder. It was fantastic.
Fancy.
Yeah, food was great. You know, and there were a couple hundred people. It was super fun to see people in the flesh, real live SketchUp users, you know, and learn something about them, learn what they were doing, kind of see what made them tick. That was just awesome.
Did you have any idea then? I mean, I'm sure you dreamed, but did you think that one day you'd have like thousands of people at a international location, like what we almost did?
I don't think I ever would have imagined it. No, I mean, and not to mention all of the international base camps have gone on as well. I think I saw a friend from Tokyo base camp in the chat there. You know, base camps in Korea, base camps all over Europe. I mean, it's been great. I think I had a hint though, because at that first SketchUp base camp in Boulder, we had special friends visiting us from the Keyhole team. And of course, Keyhole became Google Earth. And then, you know, that whole chapter in SketchUp, you know, got started. We also had friends from the Revit team there, but
hey,
there's still
sounds like a friendly situation. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. One more question. Do you remember about how many people were there at the very first base camp?
I want to say it was like it was a couple hundred, 300 people maybe. Was it that big?
All right.
That was so long ago. I can't remember really. It's but a dream, you know.
Well, now in this last 6 months, seeing more than 5 people at a time seems like a crowd. So
it does.
There's a distortion there too.
That was long ago. Back when the pencil tool was a chisel, right?
I remember our keynote speaker was Stuart Brand, and he was really a super guy to get to know. So that was, I have a strong memory of riding a bus out to Planet Bluegrass to eat barbecue with Stuart Brand. That was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Base camp memory. All right. Well, thank you very much, John. Thanks for giving us a glimpse into the past. And we will talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. Bravo.
All right. The time has come. We're going to look to you guys with our community shout out.
That's right. So
All right.
but before we do that, I want to let everyone know that we have an amazing guest with us tonight. Nick Sonder will be joining us. But now let's see what we have for our community shout out. What do we got, Aaron?
All right. So what we want to do each week is recognize one of you, somebody in the community who's using SketchUp, and something notable that we want to recognize. Today, we're looking at Instagram user Julian.skp. And we have some of his models here, and he posts just some beautiful work up on Instagram. So just wanted to kind of click through some of these and show you guys the kind of work that he does. And I got to say, it's amazing. I don't know if it was, you know, foreshadowing or what, but that a guy with the last name .skp would end up using SketchUp so well.
Well, you know, just like someone whose last name is Baker, you know, like somewhere in their lineage, they had bakers. Maybe Julian had SketchUp users in his lineage there. Yeah.
So what does a Guzman do for a living?
You don't want to know.
Okay. This may be one of my favorites too, because I mean, it's colorful. A lot of his stuff is like that black and white, real stark. And he did this stained glass window, just beautiful, awesome. So there's actually a link to him down below, somewhere down below us, to follow him on Instagram. Check out his work. It's really, really good. Just very nice, clean, beautiful models. So
that is awesome.
Yeah,
you know, and it actually, if you look at the bottom there, it says follow Julian at SKP. Just click on that. It'll open Instagram in another window, and you can follow him. I think that work is really good.
That's awesome.
It's what?
It's
awesome work.
We worked on that for hours, guys.
Obviously
not.
So
All right.
yeah. What do we got? What do we get coming up next, Aaron?
Let's we're moving on. We're here. We are there. Here. We got to the meat. It's time to get to the meat of the show. So that's not our guest's nickname, but that is what we're going to move on to. This is the big one. We got for our first show, architect superstar, Nick Saunders. So if you guys don't know Nick, okay, yeah, please hold it. I got more to say. We'll clap for him in a second. he is a production architect. He's a production architect that uses SketchUp and layout. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite things to talk about with Nick. Is last year, Basecamp 2018, Nick had the most popular session. He filled up our largest room, not just filled, but overfilled. People were sitting up front in front of the stage, up the aisles, standing in the back. It was the fire marshal's worst nightmare. He clogged that room. So this time we can do it without any fire egress issues. So I want to welcome, he's already here. Too long of an intro. Thank you. Welcome, Nick Saunders.
Nick the Meat Saunders. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Awesome. So Nick, we have a few questions. Some of them are from us. Some are from our viewers. And I think I'll kick it off with one that I like to ask. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Coffee.
That's it?
That's it.
Breakfast of champions.
That's the secret.
Well,
coffee and more coffee. I was up a little late last night. So
I hear that's a habit for you. Like
it is.
The week before base camp, you can't sleep.
Break it. I don't know what it is. Base camp's the next day, and I need to be up till at least 2 a.m.
Hey, if it works, don't fight it.
Don't fight it.
All right. So we have a question for you from our forum. Julian Smith asks, how has your process changed, the way that you create your drawings from the original version when you published SketchUp and Layout for Architecture in 2015? Is that right?
Yes.
Till now?
2016.
Okay, so in the last 4 years, what's changed about your process from that original publishing of that book?
A lot of it's been just refinement in the process. One of the things that I used to do is create line work in SketchUp, which I don't do anymore. I use what we call the Donnelly method, if any of you know what that is. But it basically makes an active live section cut to replace creating line work.
And that's, of course, named after Matt Donnelly, co-author of your book.
Exactly.
The tallest man in SketchUp.
Yes, and he has been a remarkable guy to work with. I have actually learned so much from Matt through the process of writing a book with him. And now we're working on preparing details to be released. And he's really upped my game and made me model perfectly, because if I didn't, he would kill me.
So can you touch on that again? You said the details that are coming out. What's that about?
So some of the things that have changed quite a bit actually are a result of the new 2020 coming out also of SketchUp and Layout, because now we have tag control as well as more line weight control from individual scenes. And so Matt and I decided, we've gotten a lot of requests to try and sell these detail libraries. And the detail libraries are pretty detailed, let's say, but we've come up with a great method that works exceptionally well in 2020, but we still have created them in a way that they can still be used by folks using earlier versions that don't have that tag control in 2020.
Well, you did a whole session just on how you make your details at 2018, right?
Yeah, and it's changed since then.
Ooh.
So
progress.
Yeah, so now we create single details that produce multiple details out of a single file, all through tag management. Sorry, I still say layers.
It's
Put $1 in the jar. For people who are interested in that, want to learn more about, what's the best place to find out about that as it comes together?
The detail package. We don't have a website address, but the best place probably for updates is subscribe to Matt Donnelly's website, mastersketchup.com, because he does give updates constantly to all the subscribers. So that's a great way to do it. I wouldn't try to subscribe to my website because you can't.
You can try.
You can try.
Never hurts to try.
No, my website's more focused to my residential clients for custom homes.
That makes sense.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing the presentation. One thing I do have to wonder is, like, I see in your cabin there a guitar,
Yes.
and last time we talked, I think I saw guitars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you're cropped, so we can only see two.
That's good.
Yeah. So two-part question here. One, how many guitars do you have?
I have to turn around and look. I have 7.
7 guitars. Okay.
In my
Question
office.
2.
One per day of the week.
That's right.
That makes sense.
Nice.
That's logic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question 2 would be, how do I convince my wife to let me buy 7 ukuleles?
You have her find an addiction like my wife does with sewing machines.
Ah,
No.
it's a trade-off thing.
Right.
Always a
down
little
here.
balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So, Nick, something that a lot of people are surprised by is to find out that you're kind of a SketchUp purist. You don't use a whole lot of extensions.
That's true. So I do use a couple of extensions. I do use Profile Builder, and I use Lumion
Okay, for rendering.
for rendering. But that's pretty much it. I've always been a fan of using SketchUp for all of its native tools. And I think it's really important for people to understand what the native tools do before you dive into selecting all of your plugins. But I've gotten into such a habit of it that I tend to just keep with my system that I use because it's really fast for me. And, there's a lot of folks that talk, you're crazy to do it that way. And I said, yeah, probably. But I've gotten so used to it, I really like using basic native tools. Just seems to work out.
If it works.
Yeah. And there's amazing plugins out there. I'm watching Daniel Towles do his presentations on site work. I'm like, I get the same result and I see him doing it faster than I can do it. So I probably should invest in Soap Bubble and some of those other wonderful little.
There's some good extensions out there. I'm not trying to pressure you, but I'm just saying they're there.
Well, and for builders, there's amazing ones.
Yeah.
That John Brock will talk about. And, the folks down under.
Yeah.
Yep. Plus
And
Andrew and Ruby Sketch and
yeah.
all those folks.
So in a related warehouse question, do you find yourself ever going to 3D Warehouse?
I do. I go to 3D Warehouse for mainly for specific things if I'm looking for a certain appliance or a plumbing fixture, items like that. Not so much furniture or unless it's like someone wants an Eames chair in there, and then I'll grab that out of 3D Warehouse. But mainly for fixtures and light fixtures if they have them. But that's about it. Most of my light fixtures I actually model myself.
Nice.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Is it game time?
I think so. I think it is.
Yeah, game time.
Trouble.
All right. So, Nick, we're getting ready to play a little game we call Two Truths and a Lie. It's a game you can actually play. We actually play with every new hire here at SketchUp, and the game goes something like this. So each of us, all 3 of us, we're going to tell our 2 truths and 1 lie. And then everyone at home can play along with us. And basically what you'll do is you'll see a poll pop up after someone's revealed what their 2 truths and a lie are. You vote on which one you think is the lie.
That's right. Find the lie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick, you're our guest, so you can go first. Read out your 2 truths and a lie. Everybody at home, vote as soon as the poll shows up.
All right. Number 1, I love road trips. Number 2, I once got stranded in Scituate, Massachusetts because our boat hit an uncharted rock. And number 3, I ski an average of 25 days a year.
All right. Click on that poll down there. Which one is the lie?
That's an interesting question. I'd have to think about that one a little bit.
Yeah, well, the votes are coming in.
All right. Well, let's let that keep running. How about you, Goose? Let's hear what you got for truth or lie.
Okay, all right. So see if you can pick out which one of these is a lie. All right. So I was a background actor on set with Pierce Brosnan for the 2017 TV show AMC's The Sun. I launched a Kickstarter in 2013 for Mosquito Way that uses computer vision to identify mosquitoes and zap them with a repurposed Blu-ray laser. Number 3, I sang on stage with Bob McFerrin at the University of Florida Performing Arts in 2003. So, which one is it? Everyone, click on the poll. Choose which one is it? Which one is fake?
Pierce Brosnan, Bobby McFerrin, or mosquitoes?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I'm going to throw mine out real quick. Unfortunately, mine are a lot briefer. Mine are, I guess I just didn't get the note about having stars in our truths or lies. So I have currently 5 tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
I once took a taxi from Boulder, Colorado to Las Vegas. Or I have learned to use over 25 drawing and 3D modeling programs.
Okay, let's get those votes in. Click on the poll.
Click on the lies.
A lie. Which one is a lie? I'm going to go with this one. All right, time's up, folks.
All right, let's take a look. So first up was Nick. And Nick, the people think that you're lying about loving road trips. 54% say that was the lie.
I love road trips.
Oh, man.
All right, so what was the actual lie in your list?
I ski an average of 25 days a year.
How many do you ski?
Around 40 to 50.
I can't even imagine. I went twice last year.
Nice.
Uh,
All right. What's next? We have, that was mine. Okay. So,
Mr. Goose.
Yeah. So it looks like 70% said that they didn't think I launched a Kickstarter in 2013 for Mosquito Way. Guess what? You guys are right. I did not launch a Kickstarter called Mosquito Way.
I was having a hard time seeing Blu-ray lasers zapping mosquitoes out of the sky. It was fun, but yeah, that was untrue. I thought that was untrue.
All right, Aaron, what's yours?
All right, so I had 134 people say I was lying about tattoos. I was lying. I only have 2, not 5.
Yay, man! You got some super sleuths out there.
That's right. You guys did great. Okay. All right.
How about a little bit of housekeeping before Nick gets started? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to push you guys once again down to the questions. If you have something as Nick's thing is going by, you want to ask a question, you can type it in the chat, but the chat's moving so fast, he's never going to see it. So if you put it into the questions down below, and if you don't have a question, but want to see what other people are asking, you can go upvote, because the top questions, the top votes are the ones we're going to try to pull people on stage and have them ask their questions of Nick after his presentation. So I think that was it, right? We covered all?
That's it. I think.
All right,
take it away, Nick.
We're going to turn it over.
All righty. Let's hope this works out, all right?
Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. Nick Saunder. Woo. All right.
All right.
It worked. Yes.
So I know some of the questions were what's changed, what's the difference these days of what I do. And really what I do is communicate, and that's what architects do best. And our tools are our deliverables and what we provide. Today, I'm just going to go over a couple of, I call it the extremes of simple communicative process. And really what that means is I'm going to look at the beginning and the end of the process. A little bit about me, if you don't know me. I'm an architect, a one-man firm. I'm located in Truckee, California, which is in the northern Sierra of California and Nevada. I only use SketchUp and Layout, and I use that for all of my work, for every deliverable I provide during schematic design, design development, as well as construction documents. I'm going to get through this fast because I hate doing these PowerPoint presentations. You can see I actually skip PowerPoint and use Layout. So the presentation agenda, I'm going to talk about organization, I'm going to talk about the beginning stages of pre-design and schematic design, and enough time, a little bit about detailing and how it can not be an afterthought in the entire process. Even though it's generally done towards the end, it's something you should always consider all the way through the process. So starting things right off, I'm going to go into how I start a project. This is a site plan that just has the data that I first load in from a topographic survey. And so when I bring in their AutoCAD information, this is basically what it looks like, except I'm usually at an elevation of over 6,000 feet. So all the contours come at 6,000 feet. I have to lower them into position so I can actually see what I'm working with. Then it's a task of me going through all of the tags, because it brings in all the layering system of the AutoCAD file, which can be a big burden to try and deal with. So then I convert them to my standard system here, which you can see these different layers. Some are object layers with OB, some are special layers that are specific to a certain type of line type I want to show. So you can see up top we have the contours, and these are exploded and not in a group. And this is the one case where I do this. And the reason I do this is I develop actually what are called contour extensions. It's basically increasing the context of a project beyond its property lines so I can show a little bit more of the site. So then I'm going to try and do some of this quickly since we don't have much time. Then I actually will create a 3D mesh of this using the sandbox tools along with my extended contours to create a nice context for the property. And then all of this work down below is what is saved in different scenes for property lines, setback, easements, utilities. And this is for if you're using a stacking viewport method in layout. So we'll have the site plan, which I would render as a raster. Then on top of that would be these line work elements that are then vector rendered. And the whole purpose of that is I personally like the look of using the raster imagery, especially as that file develops with a home with the shadows and materials being shown. But I do like to have vector line work for all of the other elements that are very specific. Also helps when I export AutoCAD for the surveyor when they locate the home. So from there, you can actually see the mesh is already created. I'm going to go into this site. This is the existing site with the mesh that I created from Sandbox Tools. And then it locates all of the trees on this property. This is actually a pretty small golf course frontage property. You can see the cart path. This is actually a tee box on this end and a green on this end. So it's kind of a nice position where they're not going to get clubbed by balls coming off the course. So from here, I'm assuming you guys are all seeing this because I can't see you right now. I'm going to jump to a different plan, which will be the site plan. So I'm going to show you real quick some of the options that you can do now with SketchUp in 2020, which is really nice. So this is actually a site plan showing the entire property, and this is a project that I'm actually currently developing in this golf course association. But it has all of the information that we have with regards to the house located onto the site as a separate model. But on the site plan, some very interesting things you can do now with regards to the SketchUp model. So for instance, when I click on this viewport and I go into the SketchUp model, you'll see that's actually the setback line. So right now, the way I've done it always in the past is I've just stacked the layers, which works really well because then you can really set up all the line types, the line thicknesses, because I like those all to have varying levels of thickness and types. But with SketchUp 2020, they made it much more powerful where you have many more effects you can do. You can see I have that setback line set to 4 points. If I click on the property line, also at 4 points, it's actually a separate viewport. So in 2020, I don't really have to do that. I could go ahead and delete my setback line. And then I could click on my property line. And I could go into my tag control and I can simply select setback as visible, and it placed the line in there. And then I can also control what that line work, and I might want that to be a little thinner, so I might put that at 0.8 and adjust the spacing so I can get a slightly different look on the line work. So anything that's vector rendered that's in the same scene, you technically with 2020 don't have to create all those separate scenes that we did before, such as these. But I still keep them. I keep them in our templates, of course, for folks that are using older versions. So in the schematic design process, the way I start the process is very simple. I actually start in the site, and I start creating really basic, like a bubble diagram. So I'll create a space where I'll be like, that's going to be the garage in this area. I'm doing this really fast. There might be a connector. The kitchen might sit in this plane here, and then it might be part of a great room like this. And then once I actually have this laid out, very simply, I make this as a group, and I'll actually place it directly onto the site. And the importance of this is always understanding the relationship of the property to the site. It is extremely important because the site will tell us exactly what to do with regards to positioning the home for access, solar access, as well as view corridors. Where I live, we're really cautious about snow and how to access on the driveway, making sure it's got good exposure to sun, making sure the pitch isn't too big so that you don't drop off on the side of the road. So after I've got that basic plan done, I actually bring it then into one of my templates, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead. This is that same house, and for every project, I set up templates that are standardized. So they already have every single one of them, all the layering system set, all of the scenes already established, so that I have real consistency between my projects. So it's very simple for me to set up a project and then produce the drawings quickly. This is the first round of design on this particular house, and everything's kept in the white, very, very simple, so that it can be edited easily for quick changes with the client. And so we went through probably 6 versions of this in the last 2 weeks. A lot of it was pretty small refinements and some refinements that came from the homeowners association. And so that developed later on into this where it currently stands. So now it's showing more materials. It's the roof lines and roof pitches are more refined, but it's still very simple. I can edit the project, I can make changes quickly, and everything's still consistent from the very first start of the project, because every time I make a new version, I save as. You'll notice this one is Plan 6. And so this shows different levels of scenes. And again, if you have a scene, if you're only working in vector, you can really speed up your process by using a single scene and layering your system so you're not trying to render the entire 3D model. So people have complained if you have a scene like this and you go to vector render it, you just sit there and watch layout spin for, sometimes 5 minutes. And the reason that happens is you're looking at everything and it's vector rendering, for instance, a single wall like this wall here in the kitchen. That one wall is actually 12 faces or 12 lines and 6 faces that have to be vector rendered, whereas raster or hybrid, if you're using just a section cut, is 1 face and 4 lines. So one of the things we've changed in the whole process, and we call this the Donnelly method, is how these sections, these vector line work is created. And it's actually just an active section cut. And it's used by setting on your style, you can see it set here, and it's set to a, with all the edges shut off, it's set to a hybrid style. And then we fill in the section. We deselect hidden geometry, all of those things, color by tag, all of that stuff is selected as shown here to do this, so that we can actually, if I turn on the section plane, you'll see when I move it, it's an active plane. And so as it moves through the model, it just fills whatever color you had. Makes it very simple to edit the model because you never have to go back in and change any of the line work like you had to in the previous setup. And again, you can technically in 2020 have just one of those scenes, and you can change. I have different scenes that I save. They're not going to show up here because this is a schematic where I don't show some of these elements, but I do keep those scenes because a lot of times I will put a different fill color in those different section types, but that's all preference. But this one model you can see produces all of the elevations on the home. Very easy to access, very easy to transfer to layout. And so then in the layout file on the floor plans, this is the look you get. So this is basically the raster image with the hybrid line layer over the top of it. And I will typically then put additional ones when the windows have more detail and when the trim is there and when the cabinets are more developed. Similar to a model, this is kind of what a finished model looks like. I'm not going to go into this one too much, but here it's showing a lot of trim and the windows are actually detailed to a level of showing trim, frames, sashes, and where they're mulled together. So since my time is pretty short here, that's the basic scope of what I do for schematic design and how I develop a project. The next one I'll jump into is detailing. And this is something that we've changed quite a bit. If anyone saw the past presentations on details, this is actually a roof detail, which is pretty obvious. But the roof detail is composed of multiple scenes. And this is for the folks that use 2020 and earlier. So each one of these shows a different option all within one detail. And there's lots of different options for this specific detail. In 2020, you can actually go through and change those options directly from the SketchUp window file. So you can create multiple details from a single one just by copy paste and reassigning the information. So on the details, the way I prepare them is I have what's called a detail builder. And I will quickly load that in. And the detail builder has all of these different components where you can access different elements that I have saved that all have certain data kind of assigned to it in the entity info. So if I click on any of these elements, you'll see, for instance, it's telling you what the definition is, and then inside that is a group. And the reason I do that where it's a component and then something inside is mainly due to file name when these are saved. You can't save certain characters in Windows with for file names. So it's nice to get them as far as groups, but you can actually go as deep as you want for information on a particular detail. Like this one shows as 2x8 fascia, but if I go in and click on the groups, or I'm sorry, that's for a different detail. Let me click on this one. So this one is a 2x14 fascia, and it's a solid group already. If I have something that's close, like a 2x8 or 2x6, I can actually just do multiple groups within groups with different information. And what that does in SketchUp is layout, it allows you to actually select those different components and elements. So as I create these details, I create a detail library within SketchUp, and I keep those all as scrapbooks. And so the process is similar to anything else you do with SketchUp to layout. Is you bring in one of the scenes, you render the scene, and then you note the scene using auto text, the label. And what that'll do is it'll pick up any of the information that you have inside the model and auto note it. So as an example, I'll just drag and drop one of these in here. And then I will position it exactly where I want it. And then all of these notes, some of them may have multiple choices. gypsum wallboard 5/8. That one really doesn't have too many, but I have others that do have different levels of detail. Two layers would be if you were doing it under a metal low-pitched roof. And so it's a nice little feature now because in 2020, you have much more control over the actual model. So in SketchUp, similar to like I was showing you with the site plan, I can actually go in here and I can look at my, sorry, I keep dropping my mouse to the other screen. I could say, well, I don't want to create a separate detail, but I want to have a detail where I have a raised edge. So I can click off the standard, click on the raised edge, and then it's changed. I do have to update some of the detailing here so that it actually adds some information. You know, like what is that element there that's raising up that edge. All the other stuff kind of stays the same. I would have to readjust this detail. Nope. And then you go in here, group name, 50-year Class A comp roofing. And that's a great way to go through if you have one single detail and you don't want to make a whole bunch of scenes, because sometimes the scenes can be cumbersome in the detail. I have some details. This one's not so bad. You can actually see them all in one window. And some, they go on for another 20 more options. And so that's a little cumbersome to try and deal with. And with 2020, you can avoid that whole aspect. Everybody still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Still
yes.
here.
Yeah,
We're
just,
watching.
just making sure. It's so quiet. You know, I'm not used to.
I'm taking a lot of notes, Nick.
Okay. Now, and I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. If you guys could let me know, so I can go into a little bit more. Am I doing
Let's
okay?
look into that.
Yeah, go ahead and keep going for a little bit longer.
Okay. So what I've done over time is create this massive library. And so you can see this is actually just a library, a scrapbook of just roofs. And these are all different options. And it's, you know, mainly focused on the type of work I do. So these are all rakes. These are gable details. These are shed details. These are valley details, pitch break details, roof to wall flashing details, roof in both directions. The other one was parallel to a roof. This one's perpendicular. And the way I've set them up is size them in the way that I can easily see them with a little title that kind of defines what that detail is. And so I know if I'm doing a detail page where I'm going to be doing roof details, I can go through and put that whole thing together really fast. You know, I'll look at it. If I know I've got comp shingle, I know, and the trim condition is similar to this, I just bring and drag and drop that in. And a lot of times I'll go through and compose, then place them all first. So I can also, of course, access this way. So here I might have two conditions. I might have comp shingle to a wood framed wall, and then I might have comp shingle to stone. This is actually, the file I'm using here is not our current one. So we have a couple of red boxes showing up. Pay no attention to that. The final doesn't have that. That just means it needs to be connected to the model.
Hey, Nick, and I wanted to let you know so you don't feel rushed that you could take as long as 20 more minutes if you wanted to. So deep breath.
Okay. So this this happens when it gets disconnected from the model. You can see it actually picks the same parts element. Sometimes you can actually highlight and just hit reconnect to model, and it fixes it. We have them now, the full library. This is that Matt and I are working on. I haven't opened that yet to bring it into my library, where all of those things are, of course, fixed because we want to sell the details. But you can see how fast you can put together a full set of drawings for a particular style type you might have. And here, you know, a lot of my homes have comp shingle tying into standing seam and what happens at that valley. So there'll be those details. So the key on this was creating a big enough library that I could have where I can prepare my details really early on in the process, so that while I'm thinking about this home, and I'll go back to this model, I already start thinking about what types of details I'm going to need to have in my library. And this helps speed up your construction document process considerably, while also providing a really high level of detail. So on this home, I expect, because I have 3 roofing types, I'm probably going to have 6 to 7 exterior detail sheets with 12 details per sheet, and probably 3 interior detail sheets, just knowing from past projects. And so it's good to know if any of these come up, I design anything that is unique, I will go in and create a new detail for that condition. On this particular home, it won't be, other than we're looking at doing a board form concrete veneer, which I don't have a detail for, specifically a water table detail. So that'll be a new detail I'll create for this specific house. Other than that, all of them are very simple details. Like some of them we just looked at. This is composition to wood siding, which would be this detail right here. And then likewise, going to the SketchUp model, this one here is a more difficult one. This is probably going to be a PVC ballasted single ply roof pitched at 1/4 inch and 12 against this wood siding. And it's, oddly enough, a common detail that I use quite a bit. So I would go through and I would find my details, specifically roof to wall perpendicular. Oh, you know what? Sorry. I actually keep that as a totally separate group of details called flat roof. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because there's not every project has a flat roof, but you see there's lots of different details that you have with these flat roofs. And I've got different types. So for instance, here, this is all modified bitumen. I want flat roof PVC. We're using PVC a lot more up here because it's comes with a 50-year warranty, and it seems to perform better because of the flexibility. So that particular detail will be this one right here. And that's going to show how it's layered up, what the connections are, and all of these are done from the manufacturer's information. One of the things we did take out, you can see there are some proprietary materials that I do use. We did take that off of the details we're selling so that you can basically plug in anything you want and be more generic. That usually helps a contractor with costs. But if you're really sold on a specific material, then you can add in your, whatever you're doing. In this case, this is a WR Grace. It's a self-adhered bituminous product that we put on all of our roof lines. We actually cover our entire roof with it. A lot of people are usually shocked because we don't actually vent our roofs up here because of fire. So we throw solid closed cell foam in and then unfaced bats below. That way we don't have a moisture problem building up, because the closed cell foam works like a moisture barrier. So it's a nice process to really have kind of tandem even early on. So a lot of times, by the time I'm at the end of design development, when a project is this developed, I already have all the details done and organized and ready to go before I start construction documents. So it allows myself to actually produce the construction documents, say on a home like this, which is on a hillside. So there's a lot of retaining walls and things like that to deal with. But I can usually produce the construction documents over a course of 2 weeks. And they usually have anywhere between 60 and 80 sheets of drawings. And some of those will be combined with exterior details for at least retaining walls that are up to 4 feet. Higher than that, I get the engineer involved. But it'll have all the details for the exterior, for instance, for patio edges, for railings and stairs. All of those things will be included in that detail package. And all of that is in these different scrapbooks that we have. And you can see there's a whole bunch of them. We have, even ones that are specific for different door types. So we have some that are standard, like swing doors. There's a whole bunch for garage doors, showing different types of veneers and trim conditions. And again, all of these, you can imagine every one of these is generated from a single detail. It's just a matter of layer control in scenes pre-2020, or layer control and tag control. Sorry, I should be saying tag control all the way through. Tag control in SketchUp and in Layout for 2020 versions. And I think it was 2020.2 or 21 that actually did the change for the tag control. I think it was the first version of 2020. And so you can see here, these are all different garage door heads for all different trim conditions we have. The thresholds, those are pretty similar throughout, so you're not going to see too many different options on that. Interior doors, windows have tons of different details. So in this case, this is showing window stools. And if you have a small screen, you might not be able to see it, but we have lots of conditions up here where we'll do a waterproof deck as an example. And I'll zoom in on the details so you can see it. And this one in particular, this has become more popular, not using sleepers, but using these pedestal systems. And they work really well. They're very easy to install. They're a little more pricey, but they're easy to also maintain anything underneath that gets through to clear it every 5-10 years or so. But it'll show all the specific flashing requirements, again, done all per the manufacturer's drawings. As well as, in this case, it's a metal clad wood window, which is typically what we use up here. Some cases, low budget, we might go to vinyl, but most cases it's a metal clad wood. But it shows the flashing that sits underneath the stool, as well as the trim, the sealant, the nailing flange on the window. Then this right here is actually the window flashing that again goes over it. It's kind of got triple layer of protection. To me, those are the most important details to provide, or anything that has to do with weather protection. And you can see we also do on my sections, if you're familiar with how my sections work, this is what I key all my details and assemblies into the building sections, which allows me to keep the building sections somewhat simple. So I keep those sections, at 1/4-inch scale. I don't have to put in insulation in the sections and show everything in those sections, because I key them in using these types of details. In this case, it's frame floor assemblies. So it shows all the different assemblies that I might have for frame floor. This one is showing frame floor assemblies again, where I might have a raised garage floor, because on a steep downslope, a lot of times we will frame the garage floor and pour concrete. And so it shows all the waterproofing membranes, insulation, things like that. Then we have roof assemblies, and these are different from details, and then they're not showing a specific connection like these are, but they're showing the overall assembly. So rather than at 1/4-inch trying to squeeze in and show all of the elements of an assembly, we have a more blown up detail that shows everything in a higher resolution, so you can really identify every component of the full assembly. Building departments have really liked these because it makes it very simple for them to tag each one of those elements as they have to do with fire, especially in California. Even though we're having all these crazy fires, California was one of the first states to implement wildland urban interface requirements for residential construction. So we have to do very specific things and show these assemblies that are tested by the state fire marshal within each one of our elements. And so it's really important that you can show that level of detail, which is just not as clear as when you have it on, for instance, a 1/4-inch section, or even a 3/4-inch wall section. Having this at this level is much clearer for everyone involved. So going back to the schematic design, during schematic design, when I do get all of that work developed, I've identified everything I need. And then what it also helps me identify in the future is, where are my section cuts going to be? how am I going to establish where I want every one of those sections to be? And I can even do this during schematic design, which gives you a big jump on design development. And the whole purpose of this strategy is I get to spend far more time doing what is important and what the client expects me to do, which is designing. And the documentation all falls in place to a level of detail that you just don't typically see in a residential design community. And if you do, it's usually extremely expensive. I find I can be really competitive with my fees because of the way I do this process. As an example, we've gotten to this point of this home being located on the site with the grading shown in less than 3 weeks' time, which, a lot of times it takes a long time to get through the design process because you're having meetings with clients, you're sharing drawings, they're making comments, you're incorporating, you have another meeting, and then balancing that in developments like this. There's also the HOA, which this one is very stringent on its design guidelines of what you can and can't do. They even have guidelines on how long a single-story wall can be before there's a break in the wall, which is why you see this home, being somewhat cut up. Minimum offsets are between 2 and 4 feet. You can't go less than 2 feet. And if you do 2 feet, you have to minimize it as much as possible. And you have to use real materials. You have to fit the site. I usually get away with getting some overhangs into the setbacks, which is nice, but they like them to be triangulated, not full length overhangs hanging over these setbacks, which is why you see this setback line. I always project while I'm designing, so I always know where that is relative to the property. You can see here it's skirting right along this edge of this patio here. And so early on in schematic, I am also thinking about furniture layouts, as you can see, and structure. This home is going to have a pretty hefty glulam beam, probably 42 to 48 inches deep with probably a 12-inch width. And we frame all of our roofs up here with engineered lumber to handle the snow loads, because our snow loads are absurd. At this elevation, it's about 170 pounds per square foot, which isn't so bad. My house in particular is 350 pounds per square foot. So it's basically like parking cars, Humvees up on your roof. And so the structure tends to be pretty beefy to support, which is why our construction costs are so high. And now, especially because we have, I don't know if anyone's seen it, there was an NPR article recently about these Zoom cities. And the example they used was actually Truckee, California, because we have a huge influx right now of San Francisco folks coming in and buying up properties and designing homes. And so all of us architects right now are booked, which is good, but it's a pretty big impact to our small community. And obviously we have to be able to perform and get these projects going. And so this process is really helping me out to be able to carry a pretty good sized workload for a one-man shop. So right now I'm currently running 6 homes, with this being one of the probably mid-size. I have 2 that are smaller than this and 3 that are about twice the size, up at about 6,000 square feet. And those are just yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, Nick, I just wanted to let you know we're at about the 10-minute mark. So if you want to take the last 10 minutes of the presentation to wrap it up, that'd be awesome.
Sure. And so, going back to, unfortunately my slides, which I hate, just to give some reminder on points. The real key to, I think, being successful with this project or process is really being organized and standardizing everything. So I have templates for every type of drawing category I would do. And so some people are like, well, you don't just produce it all out of one model. And I say, well, technically I do, but what I do is I reference those models into others. So for instance, I have a site model that is just dedicated to site modeling only. I have a house model that is just dedicated to modeling the actual project. It's loaded as a component into the site model that I just update. I also make a separate SketchUp file for building sections. And there again, I don't edit the model, I only edit the section location. And so the section location gets pretty busy because I don't just do 1 or 2 sections. I usually do a dozen or so sections. And if you've seen a model with a dozen sections, it becomes a little difficult to see what's going on without toggling on and off all the section cuts. There also, I still have to use the stacked method because I really like seeing the effect of basically elevations continued from the section cut. But I also do a separate model for interior elevations because that also has multiple sections to capture every single interior elevation on the home. And on a home that's detailed to a high level, and I'll try and zoom in slowly because I'm sure some people are going to get a lag on this. But at a point where this home is detailed to this level, there's a lot of things you want to have elevations of throughout the home. Cabinets, fireplaces, I'll pan over here, all the kitchen cabinets. And so I'll do elevations of every built-in cabinet in the house, which includes all the bathrooms, the mudroom, any built-ins in living areas or TV rooms, all of that, showers as well, anything that's got anything specific to it that has information that I need to convey to the contractor, to an interior designer, or to the owner if they're doing all their own interior selections on the materials. So, and then the only other one that I do is the reflected ceiling plan. And I do that as a separate, again, model where I don't edit the model. I just reference it as a component, is so I can flip it about its axis so I can still get the effect of the shadows and sun directly onto the ceilings. And so it produces really dramatic ceiling elevations that show all the materials. This home is pretty simple, so it's just a wood ceiling, but I have others that have lots of exposed beams or coffered ceilings, things like that are very detailed and really important to the light layout. And so I use those specifically to do all my lighting plans, to actually position those, if they're can lights, so they're centered between bays of exposed beams or centered in a coffered ceiling so that the lighting makes sense. A lot of times that's not taken care of, and the contractor has to kind of wing that in the field. If they have a heads up, they can do the layout a lot more efficient. I also provide that to my structural engineer so that they can do their layout as well. Structural engineer I have been exclusively using these days has been Zachary Engineering, and they do an amazing job. I actually just give them my 3D model, and then they model all of the structure directly into my model so that I can actually see real beams. I'm pretty good at guessing sizes, but they come back and say, these are your options. We can use this width, this depth, or we can go to steel and it looks like this, and then we will pick one. And then it gets added into my model so it's fully coordinated. Same with all the footings and foundation, because we have a lot of homes retained into site, so we get some pretty big footings. And so I'll first make a guess, then they'll actually lay it out, and then I'll replace my foundation with their foundation model. And they structure their models very similar to mine, as well as their detailing method. So we put together a package that it's pretty striking. If I have time, I could actually open one here. Is there time, you think?
Sure, we'll make that the last thing.
Yeah, because this will be showing what happens when you put it together as a full project. So I'm going to go back to 2019. This is right before the pandemic.
We have a request asking if you'd stick around for an extra hour, Nick.
My throat actually hurts from all the smoke lately, so I don't know.
I know, it's been rough.
I've got the Crowdcast thing in the way. I don't want to hit stop sharing. Let me minimize this a little bit. Bummer.
I think we're in the way, Aaron.
You guys, okay, here we go. I think I can do it with my key commands. Let's try. So this is a house that I'm doing in a new development. I do provide a lot of renderings in the upfront, so everybody gets a clear idea of it. We also use Cubity as another program that I use, and we have a Cubity code here that they can scan and get the model. I can zoom in if anyone wants to has Cubity and wants to do it real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time, but hopefully you're fast. If you don't use it, you can still scan it, and it will download for free, and you can see this model. But this is just data sheet, and then I go into perspectives of the home, so everybody gets a clear idea of the process.
Awesome.
First up, survey, and then some boring sheets. This is also done by Zachary. I hate to call them boring sheets, but they probably agree.
So many words.
They do civil engineering also. Their structural engineering doesn't look like this. This, they still use AutoCAD.
Oh,
sorry.
that happens.
But they do use some of my details and some of theirs that we've developed in 3D for site work. Then we'll get to my site plan. And again, this is overlaying a lot of vector work over the SketchUp model that's raster rendered. These print really well, very clean. You don't really see much of the pixelation at all. A lot of people worry about that, and they forget that they're zoomed in on a big screen. So I use this for a landscape plan. And this is actually kind of a hybrid cut. So I've actually got two scenes, upper floor and lower floor, combined together so that I can show the full perimeter and landscaping around the house. So this part of the garage is actually from the upper floor. This part's from the lower floor, and they're just stitched together, which SketchUp does really well with different scenes. This is a site section that's required by the development. This is a subsurface drainage plan. Super important. Most people don't think to do these, but this is where lawsuits come if you don't provide this type of information. This shows all the perimeter French drains and drainage underneath the slabs.
And Roosevelt was the one who said that we should go an extra hour. And I believe Nick could actually go another hour without a sore throat.
The drawings might take a little bit, but I'll go kind of fast through them just so they can see. Okay. So these are the floor plans that get generated. You can see they still have all the standard grids, dimensions. You can see how many section cuts I do. This is just the lower floor. And this is the second floor. Third floor. And what I really like about SketchUp, as you're building those sections up, it starts to show everything below it that's occurring, like how the roof relates to this third floor. And it goes to the roof plan. And I'm going to try and jump ahead. This is kind of cool. This is the reflected ceiling plans I was mentioned, again, created in a separate SketchUp file, but just referencing the building. See if I can skip through to elevations. So the elevations, SketchUp does a wonderful job. I really like doing these in raster because you get a real feeling for the depth of the home. And that to me is really important. When it's a flat 2D drawing, I get way more questions about what's going on in the elevation than when I can utilize fog and shadows to depict depth in a project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't really get many questions in the field because of the level of detail on here. You can see some of the details are keyed in also on these elevations. And moving down, building sections. I mentioned I do a lot. So we're at A33. A38.
So something I should point out is we actually have, it's not this plan, but we have 11 by 17 set of plans that you gave to us.
Yeah.
We take it to trade shows, and we have to keep an eye on that because people try to walk off with it. Yeah. I mean, and it's thick. I mean, I can't remember, 80 some pages, something like that.
Yeah. That was a big house. This one I think is, well, it's not small. It's a total of 73, including civil and structural.
Only 73 pages.
Yeah. These are all the assemblies that are keyed into the sections. I keep them right behind the sections because these are ones the building department refers to back and forth more than the details. And so there's usually just 2 sheets of those. These show all the different wall types. We have a lot of retaining walls and shows all the waterproofing and water evacuation systems. Then these are the interior elevations, again, showing all the cabinets and dimensioned.
We're getting a little feedback. Tyson says, these are beautiful. And Joe says, amazing work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I always appreciate that. Then going on, then it goes into those details I was talking about. So these are all the different details for this house. And I start, kind of in a method I've always done. So the first ones are all doors. The top is the head. jamb, threshold. And some will change a little bit when I have extra details. So like sometimes I end up with that detail I need to do of a window connecting to a slider. What's the trim like? How's it flashed? And then, window, this project, we actually have a slider to an open deck and a slider to a waterproof deck. This is a French door. So again, it has different detailing than all the others. This goes through to the, again, more details of different door types. Garage doors, then it switches to windows and stays the same format. So it's the window head, jamb, and stool. This is where it's stone veneer.
Wow.
And we're getting some more feedback saying that you should create these as coffee table books. But having seen one in person, I think we could make them into coffee tables.
We have done those. I've done that for clients where they wanted
really?
and they actually had it out on their coffee table
That's
for at least
awesome.
a couple years until it got all shredded. The next one's just going through all the roofing details. Then there's a whole bunch of miscellaneous exterior trim details that are important to cover. Then it goes into a lot of miscellaneous site. On this house, it was one of those, oh crap, I forgot this detail and had to add a couple more. And then, but this is showing deck railings and different deck conditions. In this case, it's got a concealed gutter. And when we do that, we run heat tape in it so it doesn't freeze up. And then there's just some more miscellaneous details that some I captured directly out of the model. In this case, a gas meter cover, because we have to create those to hold the snow load. In this case, we have to screen the air conditioning condensers. And this house, we're using a mini split system, so it uses these little Mitsubishi
Awesome.
condensers, which are pretty sweet.
Hey Nick.
Yeah.
Can we transition into a couple quick questions from attendees? We're coming up on our stop in about 10 minutes.
Sure. Should I stop sharing and come back in?
Sure. We'd love to see you.
All right. I'll be back. Here I come.
Welcome back.
There I am.
Awesome.
Sorry, it's a lot to fit in that little bit of time.
I know. I
didn't exactly stay on track like I wanted to with certain aspects, but
well, that's passion. That's what passion does.
Yeah.
When you're excited about something, it's hard to stay focused. So we had a couple questions. First one was from Paulo Conde, who actually is no longer online, so he can't come up and ask his question. But he asked that as a beginner in the 3D world of SketchUp, but he's already getting into modeling, his great difficulty is in modeling 3D terrain. So do you have some tips for architecture or modeling terrain for architectural?
Yeah, the first tip would be to attend Daniel Tal's session for sure, because he is amazing at it. He does use a lot of plugins, but when you watch him work, it's truly incredible. I think it is a pretty challenging thing to figure out using just native tools, but it's not impossible. So what I do a lot of times is I figure out those elements that I know I'm going to cut out from the site, that I'm going to excavate, basically, like the house, like the driveway. So I'll project those directly onto the site, and then I'll eliminate that part of the site. So I will erase that plus any connecting lines to it. Then I think about how the home needs to drain around the entire site. And actually, when I do model the drainage, I do project the slope of the swale around the home, as well as the slope away from the building, so I can ensure that I actually have it, which also allows me to pin some of those actual elevations when I don't have a civil engineer. When I have a civil engineer, I give it to Zachary, and they like it because they can go in the model and figure out exactly what I was thinking. And it's easy for them to modify. But it does take some time. So it's basically, I'm using erasing terrain, and I'm creating new slopes with line work inside the model. And then I'm using sandbox tools to connect those. Now, those always each form their own individual little groups, which eventually, once I have it the way I like it, I explode them. And then I hide all the connecting lines so it looks like one seamless piece. And I've got it down very fast just because I've been doing it so long. So most homes, like that other one I was showing, which had all the grading complete, I usually do that grading in maybe 2 to 3 hours of time to get it all dialed with. And a lot of the time is not just the modeling, but actually figuring out the slopes, making sure I've got at least 2% of drain on these swales, as well as, I try to keep 5% where I can for 10 feet away from the building, because that's code. And sometimes that's impossible, and we prove that to the building department and we're okay. But other times where I have more room, we just keep that as a constant.
Awesome.
Hey, yeah, Nicola and everyone. It looks like we have about 6 minutes left, so I'm gonna go through another question real quick.
I'll try and be
It says, okay, it says here, I'm using SketchUp and Layout for construction drawings, and was wondering how to connect components with the schedules so that when updated, schedules are updated automatically. For example, change the size of a window and it updates the table. Or what's the best way to do this? This is from David.
So David, that's hard. It's definitely a challenge to do that. So I don't actually do that. I use a manual schedule for what I use. And I know people go, oh, that's awful. And, I wish we could figure out a way to actually do it perfectly that way. There's ways to create schedules and get them into a Excel spreadsheet, but it is fairly cumbersome, and it's not quite there yet with Layout. That's something that we're all pushing for and hoping for future ability. So right now I do manual because I can do it faster.
Manual, gotcha. And then I want everyone to know that we had over 50 questions, and of course we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but Nick will be available to answer for another 30 minutes after the show in the forum. So be sure to follow us over to the forum when this is all over with.
Sure.
That's right. It's going to be a good time. We'll hang out and we'll ask even more questions, because obviously only an hour and a half was not enough to get everything we wanted to get out of Nick.
Considering I think the last sessions I did were 3 hours each, and one was just on details. So
Yes.
into that timeline is always a little challenging. So
That's good.
Awesome. So I think it's about time to wrap things up, and we're going to put the link to the forum up. Let's see if we can put that on the screen here.
Yeah, we had a lot of questions, like Goose said. We were really hoping to pull some people on stage, but the top questions, which were awesome questions, that a lot of the people weren't available to step up. So
yeah.
All right. But hey, we did it. We're here. We made it.
Perfect.
And
I'm glad it could happen. And
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Way to kick it off. Way to set the standard really high. I don't know if we have other presenters online, but pay attention.
It's really odd presenting because you don't hear a thing. And so a couple of times you heard me checking. I was like, am I just disconnected now because the internet failed?
Yeah.
It is hard.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, everyone at home, thanks for joining. Big
Sure.
round of applause for coming in, Nick, today.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's give a big shout out to all those folks that are fighting the fires, because it is absolutely
For real.
insane right now.
nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
are locked in here in Truckee.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
stay safe
All
there.
I will.
Yeah, Nick,
And I will
we'll see you in the forum.
I will right over there.
Awesome. All right. Thank you
Awesome.
very much, Nick, for everything.
All right. Thank you. Well, it looks like the sun is setting, and it's time to get back to our tents there, Aaron. If you don't already have it. If you don't already have it, pick up Nick Saunders' book, SketchUp and Layout for Architecture, the step-by-step workflow of Nick Saunders, at a bookstore near you. And you should see it pinned somewhere, maybe in the forum. It'll be pinned in the forum. And also thanks to everyone for attending this 2020 3D Basecamp event. We wanted to bring the feel and the excitement of the conference to the virtual world. So
Yes.
we'll hope that you'll join us next week.
Absolutely. So till next week, guys, remember, follow me is not just something a crazy cult leader says. It's actually an awesome SketchUp tool. Hang out with us in the forum, and we will see you all next week.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.